Well, welcome to the studio, John.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Oh, always. John, you're a wonderful co-host. We have a new sponsor this month.
Great.
MRS Events. They are a full-service event planning and talent management company.
Oh.
It's very fitting to have them as a sponsor for our Las Vegas theme show. But they do everything from singers and dancers and models.
Hot chicks?
Hot chicks. Always
Good.
hot chicks. We need those.
Yes.
And they do a fantastic job for everything. I've actually worked with them in town before. They provide videography and photography, but mainly talent. And they do an outstanding job. But it's MRS Events, and to find them, it's mrs-events.com. Check them out if you are coming to Las Vegas and need talent. You need a Hawaiian singer, they'll have that.
We could have used them at the Venetian when we were there.
Yes, well, we needed something to help us through the day.
I mean, over the years, we had things. I arranged male strippers, female strippers, magicians.
Yes.
I had clowns.
And you were willing to strip yourself if you couldn't find it.
That's it. Anything for $20.
But check them out, mrs-events.com. I want to just a quick hello to Leo and his wife. I got a great message from them on Facebook. That we are apparently very helpful to a lot of people, including Leo. Coming to Vegas, I think they're coming. They have a very soon coming trip here, and they've been here before, but they've taken our advice. They've avoided troubles, and that's what we try to do. But hello, Leo, out there on Facebook.
Isn't it ironic that we're more helpful to people now that we don't work there?
Yes.
When we were there.
We
were helpful.
We're not strapped by the corporate chains that we were back in the day, and we don't have to say their name 3 times and all that other horseshit. But John, last week was an important week for Las Vegas.
That's right.
What was it, John?
It was its birthday.
Yes. How old is it?
113, I think.
So
I think it was 1905.
1905.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a baby. We're essentially a baby. I mean, if you compare us to like a Boston or New York, but 113.
Yeah, my dad remembers being coming through. Of course, he's he'll be 95 this year, so he's born in 1923. But he remembers coming through Las Vegas when it was just really nothing. It was a train stop, and he said, the whorehouses were $2.
Yes.
Yeah, and if a $2 bill had been used at the brothel, they tore a corner off of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whenever I have a $2 bill, and which I did, I got a couple from the hotel. I got a couple $2 bills. First thing the old man did was tear a corner off of it.
Wow. That's I hadn't heard of that. That's interesting. We are 113 years again is just a stone's throw from where we are today. I mean, there are still very clear indicators that we are still a cow town.
Yeah.
We're a good old boy state,
which
I don't know if that translates to a red state or not, but we're a good old boy. Slap him on the back and strap up your horse. Very few years ago, both of our houses were surrounded by dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing. Our infrastructure pops up relatively quickly.
Yeah.
But and very quickly out of town, you hit dirt again. I mean, the Joshua Tree Forest is just right around the corner.
Yeah.
But 113. I don't know. How's our progress? I don't know.
Well, we've talked about this before also, that, even within Las Vegas proper, the city, once you get off the Strip and you start heading downtown, it's like a time warp there. And you can go back and see places that haven't been updated since the 50s or 60s. They still got that, that look to it, and you make laugh. You look and say, oh, yeah, they still got the old marquee where the guy goes out on a stepladder and puts up the letters,
Right. Well, I mean, we've often poked fun at the El Cortez.
Yes.
El Commode. It's changed. I mean, they've built a few things inside, but it's still the El Cortez.
Yeah.
The Golden Gate we've spoken of briefly.
Yeah.
In my brief tenure as a dealer, I broke in there, quarter craps. And it's terrible. I mean, you walk in and it smells of old Vegas. There's smells that were the original to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Four Queens, I mean, they still got the lights that light up and blind you as you walk down the street. That hasn't changed at all.
Yes. Yeah. But no, you're right. It's still, you still can go downtown and see the ghosts of Vegas kind of float by, and again we've talked about the horseshoe and the old mint that it used to be, and the secret little walkways, but not much left. I mean, they're I think Tony Hsieh and all the people that are trying to fix downtown, I think they're just going to pave it over.
Yeah, it's this whole plot to make it a real city.
Yeah.
And instead of a destination, as it should be. That's what people liked. They like to get away from their own. It seems to me the whole corporate mentality is such that they have because like most people, it's ridiculous, the idea corporations are people too. They aren't. Mm-hmm. They don't think like people. They don't have emotions and feelings like people, and that's what gets lost when they're always looking at a bottom line. Is that, we mentioned about slot machines with coins, real coins.
Yeah.
And that idea that, okay, well, maybe you can't track it as well. Mm-hmm. But the experience for the end user is so much more real because they're dealing with real money instead of just putting a card in there.
Well, in the 90s, when Steve Wynn, who I think is, receiving his comeuppance now.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, it seemingly changed overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, it went from the classy Vegas, not the best word, but the classy Vegas. Now it's sort of in the 90s, and then it immediately flipped over to the corporate side, which then, in my opinion, it became a very graceless city.
Yeah.
And it had no style to it. And now there were quite a bit of the elephant of Las Vegas was left, and instead of overnight changes, I think it's literally just eating the elephant, just one bite at a time.
Yeah.
And our favorite things are disappearing. And in return, we're not getting anything. It's much like the Hollywood situation where we're not replacing our stars, we're not replacing our superstars. It's just a whole bunch of content and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And I think it translates to what Vegas is. There's a lot to do, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know that you go home with a full heart. Like, oh man, that was an amazing trip to Vegas. You had fun. I mean, now you go home and I had fun. But I really hope that somehow she's able to rest this, and we get back to a little bit of.
Well, people used to like the free shows, even the fire and the pirate battle, and if you really want to, I mean, it's 45 minutes of your life you'll never get back, and it's painful to watch. But you can Google on YouTube for this really awful infomercial that. Do you remember that back in the 90s? Steve Wynn did it for the Treasure Island. Again, they're trying to make it a family resort.
Yes.
Yes, he's even in it. It's really awful, but you really need to watch that and look through it, and you can kind of see that was kind of the hinge where things changed.
Yeah.
It kind of revolved on that hinge.
Right.
And where they were trying to advertise it as basically Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
With slot machines.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was privy to a hiring intake video, and I was the gentleman that made it was actually making a new video for a different casino, and he gave me these training videos as an example of what he didn't want to do again, and oh my, it was a lot like The Circle, Tom Hanks's recent film. It was almost on a Scientology level. I mean, you had to follow these rules, and if you didn't follow these rules, it would be bad. They didn't explain what bad was, but it would be bad. But it's the town needs to alter again. I think she will. I don't know. With the Golden Knights doing so well, They're very close.
Yes, they won last night, so they have one more game to
win. Amazing,
yeah.
and good for them. And with the Raiders coming in, I think we're going to change again. Yeah. I just don't know if it'll be a good change or not. But one thing that doesn't change are superstitions.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about bad luck symbols, and you and I have seen a lot of those.
Especially in a gambling town where people do hold on to that type of
but I found a few that maybe a couple I didn't know, and some history to them. But superstitions, not necessarily Vegas specific, but because we're the central hub for gambling, I think it is specific. We've talked about the Lion's Mouth at the MGM.
Yes,
they had to actually redo the entire entry of the hotel because that was bad luck. We've talked about the color red. We've talked about with the Asians, Chinese, and the number 4.
Yeah,
and of course,
and us was a 13.
And of course, the dreaded number 13. 13 pops up again in the first one that I found. Did you know that the McCarran Airport it does have a cab stop number 13? And people almost daily will refuse to go there.
Really?
Yes. And I talked to a friend of mine who is also a dealer, and he said that he's actually experienced a person in front of him saying, "I will not go at the cab stand." People don't know when you come to Vegas,
right,
there's a cab stand, and you then sent to a cab stop because there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, there's a cab stop 13, and this guy refused to go, and there was a big melee, between the guy. Cab stop guys are kind of a pain in the ass, but he wouldn't go. So that's the thing. People will not go to cab stop 13 because that begins their trip to Vegas on a 13. I never knew that.
No, I hadn't even thought of that because I take the cab stands quite often. When I travel for business, and I hadn't even thought about whether number. Of course, I always thought that was ridiculous. Anyway, yes, we would get them in the coming to the desk. Oh, you don't have a 13th floor here, do you? Well, yeah, we do. We just call it the 14th floor. But if you go outside and you count them, it's the 13th floor.
Right.
Now you can call it whatever you want, but it's still the 13th floor.
And I also checked into that the 13. The 13th floor of the Venetian when we were there. It has since changed.
Okay.
But when we were at the Venetian, the 13th floor was used for dirty laundry.
Is that right?
Yes, right. Susan and myself had a friend, housekeeping services, supervisor actually, and it was used for the dumping of dirty laundry before it was processed down to the basement.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I remember riding those service elevators sometimes because they were faster than the room elevators, and I didn't think about it that they had those. You see the housekeeper in there with a big bale of dirty towels or something.
Yes.
Didn't even think about where they were.
Yeah.
I thought you went in the basement.
Now, I don't know how I feel about unionization here, but I'll tell you what, we've had this discussion before. Tip your housekeepers.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. People are we're disgusting.
Yeah.
The entire human race. But moving on. So cab stop 13, I guess you and I should boycott that as well. I don't know.
I just want to get in the taxi, get home.
I never take a taxi anyway.
Yeah. The queue moves really fast. Sometimes
it does.
I see people,
like
and
lightning.
Again, they used to get pissed when they would come in the Venetian. And you have to realize we had 3,000 rooms when I was here. It's a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
And they would see a line, and they don't realize, we got 8 or 9 agents working at one time, maybe more.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be in line very long.
And half of them are good.
Yes, and half of them are pretty good. And they're timed. There's a guy out there with a stopwatch, and they've got 30 seconds or something, or a minute and a half to get you in. Mm-hmm. So the same thing with that taxi queue. I mean, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
You can go to some places and there's only one person ahead of you, but the taxis aren't there. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be waiting around. Here, no, it's an endless stream.
Especially during peak times that you can't imagine. Well, we have, pardon me, we have the per capita the largest number of cabs in any city. We actually are ahead of New York. But no, no problem.
The worst time to come in, and I would give this as advice to somebody: don't come in at this. And I did. I was coming back from a business trip, and it was the weekend of the Final Four basketball because people come here the game wasn't here, but they come here to bet on it.
Yes.
And I got in on a Friday night about 8 or 9 o'clock, and it was a 45-minute queue. I mean, it was really long. I mean, they opened it up, and it went on like a new attraction at Disneyland.
Yeah, last week in March Madness is terrible. Fight weekend.
Fight weekends are bad.
That's rough.
This weekend it's EDC.
EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival. Everybody, anybody into EDM, you come out here and you can see I think last year it was a record, only one death.
Yeah, and it was record heat, which we don't have this year.
That's right.
I mean, it's close to normal. It's like 90, 92, something like that.
Yeah, not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
But last year was over 100.
So you mentioned coming here to bet. As an aside, what do you think of the accepting betting across the United States?
Well, yeah, that's another feather out of our cap, right? Because that was one of the draws.
Now the bosses, they all spoke up in turn and they said, no big deal. Actually conducting betting and arranging a book is not easy. Well, no, it's not easy, but it is a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody believes them that they think it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. But I don't know.
They're bluffing in that regard.
I think they're bluffing. I do think that there will be a lot of attempts to run book that are going to fail.
No, we look at gambling even when they legalized it way back in New Jersey back in one of the 70s, and it's going to no reason for people to come here. Well, no, there are other reasons. To come here besides just gambling, and that's there's just a lot of, and they do it very well here.
They do it, yeah.
And hey, I mean, what, they close the casinos in New Jersey? What is that? Here, they never close 24/7 unless the building's on fire. Then they'll close down the casino.
AC is pretty tragic nowadays. I think I think old Atlantic City and the boardwalk, it'll get back up, but it's not bad. So second one I found, I laughed at this one because I don't know that it would bother me, but as you know, slot machines here in town, they still have the old versions of them with the one-armed bandit, the actual handle that you pull. Apparently, to a large number of individuals, sitting with your oxygen tank and you're smoking your cigarette and your alcohol, if you're sitting next to an individual that is pulling a handle, that's bad luck.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to put a seat in between you two? I hadn't heard that.
I would anyway. I kind of want to sit next to that person. But yeah, I looked into this, and there isn't any particular thing that it can be traced to. 13, of course, and 4 and red. They can all be traced to something. But there was no trace to where this rumor came. But I found instance after instance after instance of, I don't want to sit next to this guy jerking this handle up and down. Now, they didn't really say if it was just irritating, but they did say it was bad luck. And I'm like, that's interesting. I had not heard that. I heard of that one either.
Yeah, interesting.
But still around.
And I wonder where they come up with these ideas. I mean,
I don't know. They lost one day, and this old broad was pulling a handle. I don't know.
Yeah, that must have been it.
Yeah, and this one I knew of, and I kind of agree with it. It's really interesting. There's 3 different reasons for it, but it is the bad luck of the $50 bill. Yeah, you don't want to touch, be paid with, have part of your stack, anything, a $50 chip, a $50 bill. You don't want any part of it. And there are 3 reasons for that.
All right.
First one is the most prevalent, is when mobs would when mob guys would clip somebody, they put a $50 bill on his chest.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's pretty bad luck.
Yeah.
But well, actually, there aren't 3 different reasons. There are the 3 versions of it. Just the general mob thing. But then Mr. Siegel, Bugsy, there were 2 50s found on him.
Oh.
When he was found, but he was not killed here.
Right.
So,
he was
killed in L.A. And then the most interesting one, Mr. Aces and Eights himself, had a $50 bill. Mr. Wild Bill Hickok had a $50 bill on him when he was killed.
Oh.
Yeah. So all of that kind of traces a little bit for the $50. But I know a lot of people that will get quite infuriated if you try to slide a 50 on them. To me, I don't know. It's still money.
Well, we're humans. We're pattern-seeking creatures, right? We're always looking for patterns.
Yeah.
And then they draw those lines and come up with some real crazy notion, and then the people forget about it. What was the original cause of it?
Yeah.
So if there are somebody like that, and you ask them to explain what is their, why do they abhor a $50 chip or bill, they won't be able to tell you.
Yeah, because they've been told so.
They've been told so.
Yeah. The next one I think is interesting because I've had personal experience with this. I was at a table. I don't like gambling, but I was watching over the chair live game. It was a blackjack. and the person on the hook, third base, got up and rotated his chair to where he could straddle the chair. And we talked about this with Deidre, the massage therapist.
Yes.
And the entire table freaked out, yelled at the floorman, and left. Because apparently you're not supposed to rotate your chair in any fashion except adjusting it to get your butt better during a game. And I found that really interesting because of what Deidre said regarding the fact that she has people completely turn their chair around, straddle it so they can rub their back.
Yeah, and that must freak out some of the real.
Well, I'm sure that they've gotten up and left, and nobody knew quite why. But I could not trace as to why this is. But it's kind of rude anyway. I don't know if real formal gamblers don't like a lot of changes, especially the Asian gamblers. They like things, you know, very, very symmetrical, very perfect. But I don't know. I find that interesting. This one is true across the board. No matter if you're gambling or not, don't lend money.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But it's a big deal. You're not supposed to lend money at the table. That's a long-standing thing. It's just it's bad. It's just dirty money going back and forth. You don't want that. But again, I laughed when I saw that. Now this one, I was able to trace the reason for it, and I was also able to trace it personally. Whistling at the table. It's irritating. Whistling in any form, in any location, in any generation.
Yes. You had irritating. A gear grinder on that.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so bad about whistling. I have to go find the person who's whistling to identify them and file them in my brain that I hate them and want them to die. And then I'm okay with the whistling. But you can't whistle at a table. It's really bad. The whistling, however, comes from there's an old wives' tale about whistling in graveyards.
Wakes the dead? Is that it? Or?
No. Apparently, people would whistle while in graveyards to confuse the spirits. But it got sort of transmogrified on those decades after, and now it's like you said, they're going to call bad spirits up. You're whistling, you're calling the bad spirits up.
And I can see where the house went like, because they might think you're signaling a partner.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But again. It's irritating.
It is irritating.
Stop whistling. Yeah. And even if you're old, even if you're a good whistler, you ever heard that old guy? The guy that can whistle, he's amazing. Have you ever seen that guy?
I think I have.
He's got all, it's like a Song of the South with the little birds.
Yeah, right.
You know, and they're and he's amazing, and it's just...
It's still irritating.
It's still irritating. Stop that. I don't care if you went to World War II. Stop whistling. Now this one I couldn't find a damn thing about it. You're not supposed to cross your legs. Men or women. Don't cross your legs at the table.
I know in Buddhist cultures, in fact, you'll see it that you're not supposed to point the bottom of your foot at somebody. That's considered uncleanly and it's rude. And, you know, over here in the West...
Not the tip, the bottom.
The bottom, right. Okay. So that's why, you know, there's a way that, you know, women used to cross their legs when they wore a dress or a skirt. And if a guy does that, where their foot is pointing down, the sole of their foot is down,
right?
You know, they're looking at it and say, oh, he must be gay, that guy, because look how he crosses his legs. Because a real man, you know, when he crosses it, his leg is parallel. Yeah. For example, his right leg will be parallel to the ground, right? And then his foot will stick out. Sure. But I got into the custom, and I know other foreigners that when we lived even in Japan, you know, even though Japan's not, I mean, there's Buddhist influences there, but certainly in Southeast Asia, is that you cross your legs basically like a woman, where you have your foot, so it's, you know, the foot is straight down.
Very confined,
yes, and I find it really hard not to do that anymore, because I'm pointing the bottom of my shoe at somebody.
Really?
And that's just considered rude. So you know, and some of those habits just get ingrained.
Yeah, it seems as though the Asian communities have quite a few more don'ts, I guess, and it comes with them to Las Vegas and to gambling in general. Yeah,
because you know it was interesting because you know when I lived in Japan, they would always boast, well, you know, we're an atheist country, and I thought, well, yeah, but you're very superstitious. And to me, I mean, you heard my religious beliefs. I don't have any. I just think it's all bullshit. But believe what you want. But still, I said, you know, you got all these superstitions, which to me are pretty much supernatural. You know, they have things like they're going to build a new house in the lot across the street. Well, before that, they have a ribbon or something there, and that's supposed to appease any spirits that live there.
See, now it's interesting that they consider themselves atheistic.
Basically, because they don't believe in a single God, or they have their, or even a single religion, right? I mean, they may have a Buddhist ceremony for a wedding. They may have a Shinto ceremony at a funeral. So it's kind of a mix. They don't go to church, most of them, but nevertheless, they rever the dead. You know, they have the little shrine, and often, I think I told you one time when I first got there. I got there, remember that in August. It came into December, and I worked with a woman who knew somebody that lived in a resort town called Atami, which is outside of Tokyo, a couple of hours. And I'm going to go up there and spend the New Year's holiday with them. Why don't you come? And I thought, well, I didn't have anything else to do. All right, so I go there, and they were real nice people. They put me in one of the rooms, and they had, I noticed, a little cup of tea in the room. I thought that was for me, so I drank it. Well, I only came later to realize it was for the grandmother who was dead, and it was on an altar there. I didn't, oh shit, what is this? So I wonder if they freaked out and they came in and they saw the tea was gone. You know?
Oh my gosh!
Did Grandma drink it?
You ate Santa's cookies, John.
Yes, basically I did. I sat there and wolfed down Santa's cookies, and I didn't know, and they kind of laughed about it. But again, it's more for them. It's not so much of a belief as a tradition.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch sumo wrestling, you see that the guys often before the match starts, they always do this. They always purify the ring with salt. That's what they're throwing out there. You know, they go out there and they take a handful of salt and they throw it, which is why they cannot have a woman sumo wrestler or even a women's division, because of the fact that women menstruate, there might be blood. That yes, you can't have that. You got to purify the ring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
Well, those are the ones that I had, but I found some interesting information regarding superstitions in general.
Yeah.
And there is actually a current journal entry from a bunch of psychologists in Cologne, Germany, regarding superstitions and charms and how they directly increase a person's belief in their abilities. So they're saying that all of these things that we discussed, the 13s and the 4s and the whistling and the crossing your legs and everything else, either negatively or positively influence directly your ability to gamble. And I found that fascinating, that people that believe that if they wear a pair of dirty socks, they are going to be a better blackjack player.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we see that also in baseball. Baseball players are incredibly superstitious. The way the rituals that they go through. They get into the batter's box, and some guys, you know, they pound the bat 3 times before they do. Pitchers, when they're getting off the mound, they won't step on the line. Right, they step over it.
Right.
And you remember Wade Boggs? He was a great hitter. He went 4 for 4 one day, and he remembered he had eaten fried chicken before the game. So then after that, Wade Boggs ate chicken before every game, even if it's a day game.
Right.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning. He's eating fried chicken. I thought, well, what if he goes 0 for 4 and he strikes out 3 times?
Right.
Is he going to stop eating chicken? No, that's not the chicken's fault. It's something else. But he's eating chicken the next day. You know, and it's just like, well, that's kind of crazy. Well, but again, they're looking for a pattern.
Yeah, and there's no better example of this than a craps game.
Yeah. Because
the choreography of a person throwing the dice is an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah.
It is a social experiment just from beginning to end. I've seen guys take a number of seconds, which at the craps table is a long time.
Yeah.
With the blowing and the bouncing and the making sure the one and the two are, and all different types of things. And you know, there's very specific way that you're not allowed to hold the dice. You can't hold them in a closed palm. It has to be you have, once you grab the dice, you have to release them within a certain period of time. But there's a lot of rules you can break, and they push it. You know, you actually aren't supposed to let somebody blow on them, because. And it's not because of the blowing. It's actually because most people, to have their girlfriend or hot chick blow on the dice, you have to break the plane of the table, and that's not allowed with the dice. And so oftentimes she'll have to bend over to blow you. But the other thing they found out was that along with people's belief that their ability is directly affected, they also have what these German psychologists believe is selective amnesia. meaning that you can only remember, like Wade Boggs and the chicken, you can only remember the positive thing that happened and what you did that day.
Yeah, they discard the any evidence that refutes their theory. It's the same, the idea that death comes in threes. You probably heard that. It's ridiculous because somehow they say, wait, I said, wait a minute. What is the romance novelist, the pro bowler, and the former senator all have in common? Just the fact that they all died within like 3 weeks of each other. And I said, and who's to say that? Wait a minute, a pop singer died too. Is that a fourth one, or is that starting a new series of 3?
Right, exactly.
So I'm just going to put this out there. In the last month, I've talked about, and I cut him a new asshole, Vern Troyer.
Oh, no.
And he died.
Yes, he did.
I talked about Tom Wolfe. In the article there, I called him a douchebag. Yeah, he died last week. Now, that's 2. Yeah. I got one more coming to me. Yes. So people listening, write in, who should it be? Right? Yeah, because it doesn't seem to be any time limit on this.
I got some names for you. It may not be famous, but they need to go. That's funny. Vern Troyer, he passed away, obviously, a month ago, right?
Yeah. I think he died when I was in San Diego that weekend.
Very soon after, I caught a YouTube video piece with Mike Myers, who was visibly saddened by this passing, and said what a wonderful guy he was.
Yeah.
And I found that interesting sort of dichotomy there. Yeah. Between our experience and your experience with him and Mike Myers. Now, granted, Mike Myers had a very much closer relationship.
Yeah, and he probably dealt with him when he was sober.
Yeah.
Because I remember the one article I read was that he had an alcohol problem.
Yes.
And like I said, when I saw him, he was coming off a bender.
Yeah,
pretty clear. He was coming off a bender.
And another reference to it, which I don't think anyone would know. This is as obscure a Las Vegas reference as possible, but Vern Troyer is on a video presentation television at a yogurt shop at the ass end of the Mirage, along with Charlie Sheen. Apparently, the 2 celebrities that have come here
and gone to that yogurt shop,
gone to the yogurt shop, allowed themselves to be photographed. Vern Troyer, Charlie Sheen, at the Mirage just before you go into the convention facility of the Mirage. There's this yogurt shop, and there they are.
Wow!
On this sort of rolling video presentation, Vern Troyer and Charlie Sheen. Yeah.
Did they go in together, or were they just
no individual times? And but I don't know. I can't imagine a wholesome, wonderful yogurt shop being sponsored by
either one of those guys. Yeah,
by Charlie Sheen and Vern Troyer. Yeah. But Vern Troyer. It's so strange. But now, so you're not superstitious at all?
No.
Not whatsoever.
No, I guess. I mean, in my own ways, I have. I like things to be neat. I put things away. Mm-hmm. Now it's just like, well, I'm going to use this tomorrow. I go, I work out in my garage. Mm-hmm. I put all the weights away at the end of the workout. Yeah. And said, well, I think, why bother? I'm going to be there tomorrow. But no, I just like to do that. Now, is that a ritual? If I don't do it, do I like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw out my back tomorrow because I didn't do it? No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because you're going to do that because you're old, John.
Yeah, I'm going to do that because I'm old. That's right. Yeah.
Now, when does pattern become superstition, though?
Yeah.
And when does pattern become obsessive compulsive?
Yeah.
Because I've been accused of that. I'm a very symmetrical person in my non-artistic life, and then when I get a break, my brain gets a break when I photograph or make films, but I'm a pattern-based person.
Yeah.
Now I don't think the world will come to an end. I'm not the Chicken Little with the patterns. I mean, I like things, very straight. And when I'm sitting at a table, I used to, friends used to make fun of me. I used to eat I still do, eat a hamburger in a circle. I take the hamburger and I eat all the way around. And there's a reason for it. It has nothing. I don't think it's going to be a better hamburger or it's good luck. I just think that once you do that, then you get the great part of the hamburger. It's the middle part of the hamburger.
Yeah, you get rid of some of the bun.
But I was made fun of viciously. Oh, they would just make fun of me terribly. But I'm a creature of habit, creature of pattern. Yeah. My poor dogs have picked that up too. I mean,
dogs are that way too. I know my dog. Eats at 5 o'clock, and if it's 10 after 5. She starts howling like, hey, it's like almost like she could see the time. Is that, hey, you're late. When's the food coming?
Now, do you think your lack of superstition or lack of having the superstitions is also due to your feeling about religion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because I try to look at it logically. Because yes, I have, I like to do things at the same time.
Yeah.
I was reading about Ichiro, the baseball player.
Yes.
And he went on vacation once in his life. He's like 45 years old now. He and his wife went to Italy, and he hated it. Nothing against Italy. It's just that it took him out of his routine.
Yes.
He does the same stretching routine at the exact same time every day. And when you go on vacation, of course, your patterns are upset. And I always kind of thought that was maybe some of the reasons why the people we dealt with were always so grouchy.
Yes.
Was, again, they're out of their element. They're out of they have no concept of time because we don't have clocks in the hotels and what have you. Yeah. It can be agitating to do that. So, I like to work out at the same time. I prefer, I have to travel for work sometimes. I really don't like to do that. I mean, I do it. Some people really enjoy it. I don't.
I love to travel, but when it comes to domestic travel, it's Vegas is a perfect example. We had an entire series of on the Pod Bay Door regarding how to best come here. Yeah. And please go back on our episodes and you'll see that it's very informative. But you're absolutely right. I have a daily thing that I do, and if I can't do it, I try to replicate it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just can't. And Las Vegas is one of those places where you can't replicate what you normally do. You're absolutely right. When you're out of your element, the frustration comes in, maybe unknowingly. And then Las Vegas can be a very trying place. I mean, we have lines like Orlando and California and Anaheim, and we have, it's difficult to get into the restaurant that you want to get into, and impossible to get the show tickets.
Yeah, and I've mentioned also when you're driving along the Strip, it's deceiving because you see the sign.
Yeah.
That might not be exactly where the hotel is.
Right.
And you'll miss that street and realize, shit, I got to turn around in this horrible traffic.
Yes.
It's 15 minutes to make a U-turn.
Yes.
Because you got to go down and turn and then get in, and then come by and take a second swipe at it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when you're first learning to drive, just how, if you can remember that experience, just how how not just frustrating but nerve-wracking it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you have to remember so many things that become automatic after you've been driving a while.
Absolutely.
Check the rearview mirror, the side mirror, look over here, make sure nobody's coming. And you do it automatically, then it becomes, you can drive with one hand. That's why people fall asleep at the wheel. When I first started learning to drive, I thought, how could anybody fall asleep driving? Because holy shit, I got to be aware of everything. Oh. And then after a while, I realized, Jesus, this would be easy to fall asleep.
Oh yeah, I did a St. Petersburg to Orlando thing. I almost killed my whole family. Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
But John, it's time to go. But I'm going to leave our listeners with one piece of advice that you just reminded me of. When you're going to your hotel, if you've driven here, or if you have a rental car or whatever, and if you've already done the Strip, I would avoid the Strip. But if you haven't done the Strip, and like John said, you shank the turn. If you're going to Paris and you miss the one opportunity to go, don't lose heart and don't think you need to do a U-turn. There is a road called Koval, which is east of the Strip.
Yes, parallel.
So if you miss the Paris, make your first right on, well, in this case, it'd be Flamingo, and get to the road called Koval. And for most of the casinos, thankfully, there is off of Koval, and that's Koval. There are back entrances.
Yes.
So don't start your trip off mad. Just get to Koval. Now on the other side, if you shank it and you need to go to Treasure Island, for example, you can reach most of those properties on our most loved street, I think, Mr. Frank Sinatra.
Yep.
Get to turn left or west off Las Vegas Boulevard. Go to Frank Sinatra, and you'll be able to get to the back end of the hotels. You're right. So many times people have told me, "Oh my God, I missed this, and I had to make a U-turn." And most of the Strip, you can't make a U-turn.
No, or you got to turn and got to go round and make
Or you're that guy, which we've had that episode too. You're that guy making a U-turn on Las Vegas Boulevard. Don't do it. But John, welcome back to the studio. Thank you so much. You're a great co-host. Again, thanks to our sponsor this month, MRS Events. All those people coming in for Las Vegas that are great listeners of the Pod Bay Door, if you're having an event or need some entertainment or a model or something of that, call MRS Events, and you can also reach them at mrs-events.com, and they'll take care of you, all of your entertainment and talent needs. But for John, this is Jamie. We will see you next week. Thanks to everyone listening and watching. You can catch the Pod Bay Door on the Podbean app or any of your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel at the Pod Bay Door Podcast. Please download, like, and subscribe. Our social connectivity screen is coming up. Check in with us on Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress. The Pod Bay Door is closed and talent is out. Hey everybody, thank you very much for tuning into the show. We would love to hear your show suggestions and comments. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, please click to subscribe. You can also connect with us on Facebook using @PBD Podcast, on Twitter using @TPBD Podcast, and on WordPress at thepodbaydoor.wordpress.com.